I hope you're really enjoying the conference so far. I know Jennifer probably just taught us some really cool things about forms, and we're also looking forward to Minko's talk next. In the next 10 minutes, I want to teach you a couple of things about Angular template type checking. My name is Brian Love, and I am a Google developer expert in Angular. I also really enjoy traveling. Here's a picture of me hiking in Norway, my wife and I in Spain, and I currently live in Portland, Oregon in the States. Today we're going to be talking about 5 things. First, we need to mention Ivy. Then we're going to take a look at a research study that was performed by Microsoft. Then we're going to learn about the 3 modes for Angular template type checking. I'll break this all down with an example, and then we'll finish up with input setter coercion. If you haven't heard, Ivy is the new compilation and rendering engine that was shipped in Angular version 9. Ivy enables a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about in the next couple of minutes. So if you're not on Angular version 9 or higher or Ivy, you need to get there first and make sure that Ivy is enabled. Now let's take a look at this research study. So this was a research study done by Microsoft Research in collaboration with the University College London. And the name of the paper is called To Type or Not to Type, Quantifying Detectable Bugs in JavaScript. And what I thought was really interesting about this is what they did is they went out to GitHub and they looked at public open source repositories for JavaScript. And they analyzed closed issues. And they looked at those closed issues and said, hey, could this issue have been caught ahead of time via typing? So in other words, at build time, using something like TypeScript, could that bug have been prevented? Now, of course, that was directly related to TypeScript, but I think that's also correlated to what we're talking about here with type checking in Angular templates. And what they've learned is that 15% of those closed issues could have indeed been caught ahead of time during the build pipeline. Now let's take a look at these 3 modes and how we enable them. First, you have basic mode, then you have full mode, and then finally you have strict mode. Basic mode is going to do the least amount of type checking in your templates. Full mode is going to do additional type checking. And then finally, strict mode is going to perform the most type checking in your Angular templates. To use basic mode, in your tsconfig.json file, underneath the Angular compiler options, there's a flag called full template type check. Set that to false, and you're going to be in basic mode. If you want to go to full mode, simply set that value to true. Finally, if you want to go to strict mode, use the strict templates flag and set that to true. Now let's take a look at an example. In my example application, I've got some films and I'm listing or iterating over these films and listing out the film and the title and the release date. Here's the parent component. Let's take a look at the template. So I've got a child component app films, and I'm binding down to the films input property. And I'm setting that equal to my data.person.films property. I also have a films change output binding, and I'm invoking the onFilmsChange method in my components class and passing along the event object. Let's take a look at the class. In the class, I've got my magical data object that's got a person property, and person has a property called films that's an array of film objects. I also have the onFilmChange method, and that method is accepting a films property that is an array of film objects. Now let's take a look at the child component. Here I'm using an ng container to iterate over those films. Now there's nothing special about the ng container. I could have used a div or something like that. And I'm using that ng4 structural directive, iterating over the films and outputting the film's title along with the release date. The release date, I'm also using the date pipe in order to format it. When we take a look at the components class, here's that input that we're expecting. The input is a films input, and it's expecting an array of film objects. I also have the output, which is films change, and that's an event emitter that's going to emitting an array of film objects. Now let's break that down. First, let's look at the template in the parent component. Here I've got that app films component and the films binding with the films change. Let's take a look at each piece of this. First, Angular's compiler for type checking is going to take a look and see, okay, well, is data a class property? Next, it's going to say, okay, now is data an object with a person property? Further, it's going to say, is data.person an object, and does that have a films property? So far, all three modes are going to be doing type checking for us. But this is where it starts to get interesting. Here, we're going to check only in full and strict mode if the films property is actually assignable to the films input on the app films child component. So it's going to check the property type against the input type. And then further, this is where it gets also very interesting, is the $event object. Only in strict mode do we actually know the type of the event object. So if you're in basic mode or full mode, $event is just any, and so it can be anything. And so there's not going to be any sort of type checking to give us some safety there. But if I'm in strict mode, we know that $event is of type film, and so that's going to be checked for us. Now let's take a look at the child component, and let's take a look at that NG4 structural directive. What you need to know is that all of the content inside of the NG4 structural directive, but kind of between the opening and closing, that container, is called an embedded view. And basic mode does not do any type checking inside that embedded view. It's only in full and strict mode that you're going to get type checking in the embedded view. Further, in full and strict mode, we're going to check if fields is a property of the film object. And then we're also going to check if fields is an object with a title property, but that's only going to occur in strict mode. Also, we're going to check for that release date property, again, only in strict mode. Finally, and this is also where it gets kind of interesting, is we're going to actually check that release date is a string. And why this is important is because the date pipe is expecting on the argument that type to be a string. And so the Angular compiler in strict mode is going to check the type of the value that you're providing to a pipe against the type that pipe is expecting. Finally, let's take a look at input setter coercion. In this example, I've got a button component and I've got an input called back. Let's take a look at the implementation. Here I've got app-button and I'm displaying the button in my template. But what if I want to use that back to set the app button to be a back button? So what I might do is I might put a back attribute on that button. But if we go back and take a look, what's important to note here is the type that back is expecting to be. In this instance, back is expected to be a Boolean type. However, if we take a look at this binding, this kind of shorthand binding, really what's happening is back is actually being bound to an empty string. And if you're using strict template type checking in Angular, you're going to have a problem here because you can't assign an empty string to a Boolean value. So what we need to do is we need to coerce the type and set that kind of in our component in order to instruct the compiler accordingly. Take a look down at the bottom at this new static property that I've added to the class. The static property starts with this string. It's always going to be the same, NGAccept input type underscore. And that's kind of a magic string, kind of like NG on a init is like the method that Angular is looking for. The compiler is going to look at this and say, aha, okay, you want to coerce the type here. So whatever after the underscore, you put the name of the property input that you want to coerce, and then you set the typing accordingly. So in this instance, we're coercing the back input property to be either a Boolean or an empty string. At this point, you might be going, oh, this sounds great, but how do I get there? And what I want to do is I want to share with you a three-step approach that I like to use. The first thing that I do is if I'm in basic mode, I turn on full mode, I run an ng build, and then I assess the level of effort of what it's going to take to get to full mode. Then we take that assessment knowledge into our sprint planning and make a plan in order to get to full mode. We're going to do the same thing to go from full mode to strict mode. The key takeaway here is this 15% number. Imagine having 15% fewer bugs in your code, 15% fewer regressions, maybe 15% more time to do things that you love to do. I don't know what you're going to do with an extra 15%. Maybe you'll go to the beach. I don't know. But I hope you enjoy learning about Angular template type checking, and I hope that this is some valuable information for you. If you'd like, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Brian_Love. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the conference.